Welcome, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to check our previous videos, as well as drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. Malik Porter was 28, young and rich in a way that made people stare. His software company in Houston had exploded after a viral app, turning late-night coding sessions into luxury condos and custom suits. Yet, underneath the Rolex and Italian loafers, he was still the cautious kid from a working-class neighborhood, raised by a nurse mother who repeated, "Money shows you who people really are, baby." Malik believed he was careful with love, too. He thought he could read intentions. But all that quiet confidence began to crack the day he met Ariana Cole. It was a charity gala downtown, all glass walls and chandeliers. Malik had sponsored half the event and arrived late, tired from a week of meetings. He stood near the balcony, sipping sparkling water, when he noticed her. Ariana glided across the room in an emerald dress, her brown skin glowing, curls cascading over her shoulders. She laughed at something a stranger said. Then her eyes flicked toward Malik. Their gazes met for a second too long, and she smiled like she already knew his name. Instantly, the room felt smaller and far more dangerous. She approached with easy confidence, heels silent on the polished floor. "You look like you hate being here," she teased, voice soft, eyes studying his face. Malik chuckled. "Is it that obvious?" She nodded, then casually mentioned his company by name, his latest interview, even quoted a line he had said about reinvesting in the community. Flattered, he asked where she worked. Ariana tilted her head. "I do brand consulting and philanthropy coordination. I help people like you not look bored at events like this." Her tone was playful, but something about it felt rehearsed. Over the next hour, Ariana made him feel like the only man in the room. She listened closely, laughed at his dry jokes, and brushed his arm just enough to feel deliberate. She spoke of a rough childhood, of a single mother who worked 3 jobs, of wanting to build something real and give back. Her story echoed Malik's own upbringing so perfectly it startled him. It felt like destiny. When she excused herself, he realized he did not want the night to end without her number. She wrote in his phone with a winking emoji. Their first date was at a quiet rooftop restaurant overlooking the city lights. Malik showed up in a navy suit, Ariana in a white jumpsuit that made heads turn. She praised the view, the ambience, the chef. "You have such good taste," she said, fingers lightly tracing the rim of her glass. Malik felt proud, like he was finally with someone who understood his world. She talked about wanting to start a nonprofit, about caring deeply for children in underserved communities. When he asked more concrete questions, she steered the conversation back to him, making him feel special. In the weeks that followed, Ariana slid into his life like silk. She sent good morning texts, remembered his meetings, dropped off homemade food at his office. She praised his discipline, his vision, his generosity. Slowly, Malik found himself letting down walls. He invited her to small gatherings with his friends, then dinners with his mother, Denise. Each time, Ariana played the role of supportive girlfriend flawlessly, bringing flowers, helping in the kitchen, complimenting Denise's cooking. Only once did Denise pull Malik aside and whisper, "Move slow, baby." Some people perform kindness like a show. At first, Malik dismissed his mother's concern as overprotectiveness. Ariana seemed so attentive, so aligned with his values. Yet small details began to flicker in his mind. Ariana always had a new designer bag, a different pair of red bottom heels, updated hair, flawless nails. She spoke often about luxury spas, exclusive resorts, private shopping appointments. When Malik asked how her consulting business worked, she answered in vague circles. "It's mostly referrals. My clients prefer privacy. I manage personal brands." She never mentioned specific companies, never showed a website, never seemed stressed about deadlines or deliverables. One evening, Malik suggested they spend a weekend at a modest lakeside cabin he owned, a quiet retreat from the city. Ariana's face fell before she caught herself. "Oh, that sounds cozy," she said, forcing a smile. "But I was actually hoping we could go to Miami. I know this amazing luxury resort. It would be the perfect getaway, and we both deserve it, right?" Malik hesitated, then agreed, telling himself he had the money and she was worth spoiling. Still, he couldn't ignore how her excitement only truly lit up around expensive experiences. The Miami trip was breathtaking and expensive. Ariana documented everything, posing by the infinity pool, filming their suite, tagging vague, blessed captions without mentioning Malik by name. At dinner, she ordered the most expensive dishes and champagne, then spoke passionately about wanting that level of life forever. She took photos of the bill, joking it would be motivation fuel for her business. When Malik gently teased, "You really like the high life," Ariana smiled. "Why shouldn't we? You worked hard for this. We should enjoy it." The word "we" slipped out so easily, it sounded like a claim. Back in Houston, the requests began to creep in. First, Ariana mentioned her car, acting up, hinting that a new one would make her feel safer. Then she talked about needing seed money for her nonprofit. She framed every ask around partnership. "We're building a future. We're a team. Supporting me is investing in us." Malik, wanting to be generous but not foolish, offered to connect her with his accountant and lawyer to structure things properly. Ariana's smile tightened. "Why does everything with you have to be so formal? Do you not trust me?" The accusation stung. To prove he did trust her, Malik compromised. He paid for her car to be fixed instead of buying a new one. He transferred a modest amount to help her launch her nonprofit, labeling it as a personal gift, no strings attached. Ariana thanked him dramatically, crying and swearing she would make him proud. For a while, things were peaceful. She was affectionate, attentive, and always dressed like she had stepped out of a magazine. Malik tried to ignore the slight discomfort in his gut whenever she brushed off questions about progress or plans with charming vagueness. The first real crack came when Malik ran into an acquaintance at a networking event. The man, a venture capitalist named Troy, glanced at Malik's phone when Ariana's name flashed across the screen. "You dating Ariana now?" Troy asked, brows raised. Malik nodded cautiously. Troy let out a low whistle. "Man, be careful. That girl used to hang around some of my friends. Always talking big about marrying rich, upgrading her life. Maybe she changed, but watch yourself." Malik laughed it off in a moment, but the words clung to him, echoing louder each day. Malik decided not to accuse Ariana blindly. Instead, he started watching carefully. He noticed how often she posted luxury content online, without mentioning any real work. She spoke about her consulting meetings, yet her calendar always seemed wide open for last-minute brunches and shopping. When Malik suggested introducing her to a respected nonprofit director he knew, she balked. "I am not ready for all that yet," she said. "People in your circle can be judgmental. I want everything perfect before I step into your world fully." The phrasing bothered him. Wasn't she already tangled in his world? One afternoon, while Ariana showered at his condo, Malik's phone lit up with a notification. A mutual friend had posted Insta stories from a club the previous weekend. A night Ariana claimed she spent at home, journaling and recentering. Curious, he tapped through. The video showed Ariana in a tight silver dress, bottle in hand, dancing with another man who had his arms snugly around her waist. They looked intimate, familiar. The caption read, "Ariana always knows where the money is at." Malik's chest tightened. His first instinct was hurt. His second was a cold, simmering clarity. Malik did not confront her immediately. Instead, he decided to investigate. He hired a discreet private investigator, something he never thought he would do. "This feels ugly," he confessed to his best friend, Jamal. "But something is not right." The investigator, a calm woman named Renee, nodded. "You're not crazy. People build entire identities around extracting money from others. I'll be thorough." Over the next couple weeks, Malik forced himself to act normal around Ariana, even as doubt gnawed at him. She, unaware, continued her performance. Affectionate texts, expensive hints, glittering promises of shared futures. Renee's report came in a thick envelope, heavier than Malik expected. Sitting alone in his home office, he opened it with trembling hands. Inside were photos, screenshots, and neatly typed notes. Ariana did not live with a struggling single mother as she claimed. She shared an upscale apartment with a friend, both on a flexible lease partly paid by older men they dated. Her consulting business had no registration, no clients listed, only cash transfers from various men, including Malik. She had been engaged twice before, each time to wealthy professionals, each engagement ending mysteriously after money changed hands. Malik's stomach twisted as he flipped through page after page. Screenshots of Ariana's private social media accounts showed her bragging in group chats about testing men's financial limits. One message read, "This new dude is loaded and sensitive. Perfect combo. If he passes a Miami test and the my car broke test, I'll see how far he'll go." Manifesting a ring in a penthouse. The new dude was clearly him. Tears blurred Malik's vision. It wasn't just money. It was realizing how carefully she had studied him, mirrored his values, weaponized his kindness. As the initial shock faded, a hard calm settled over him. Malik knew confronting Ariana in pure rage would only give her the drama she secretly craved. Instead, he decided to become as strategic with his heart as he was with his business. He called Renee. "I need airtight documentation," he said quietly. "If she tries anything shady, I want to be covered legally." He also called his lawyer, Julian, explaining everything. Julian listened without judgment, then replied, "Do not give her another dollar. Pull back slowly. Let her reveal herself. When people feel entitlement slipping, they show their teeth." Malik began to change his behavior subtly. He canceled a planned trip to New York, citing work. He stopped buying Ariana gifts, saying he was restructuring finances for a new project. He no longer offered to pay for everything without question. When she dropped hints about a luxury watch she loved, he smiled and said, "Maybe someday when things are more solid." The shift was small, but Ariana noticed. Her text became sharper, more probing. "Are you okay?" Turned into "Did I do something?" and then into "You don't treat me like a priority anymore." One night at dinner, Ariana finally snapped. They were seated at an upscale restaurant, and Malik had ordered more modestly than usual. No champagne, no extravagant appetizers. Ariana frowned. "You're acting different," she said, voice low. "Ever since you met that investor guy, you've been distant. Are you trying to impress them by being cheap now?" Malik raised an eyebrow. "I'm just being thoughtful," he replied. "Money does not need to scream to be real." Ariana scoffed, flipping her hair. "I'm not some basic girl. I'm used to a certain lifestyle. If you can't handle that, say so." Malik leaned back, studying her. The compassionate, wounded girl mask had slipped, replaced by a flash of entitlement. For a moment, he saw her clearly, not as a woman in the emerald dress, but as someone who believed she was owed luxury simply for existing near him. "What are you really used to, Ariana?" he asked quietly. "Because for what I've learned, you're used to men paying your rent, funding your fantasies, and then getting discarded when they stop providing." Ariana froze, eyes widening. "What did you just say?" Her voice now carried an unmistakable edge of panic. Malik calmly placed a folder on the table. "This is a summary," he said. "I know about the fake nonprofit. I know about the other men. I know your mother lives comfortably married in another state, not struggling alone like you claimed. I know this is not the first time you've done this." Ariana's face drained of color, then flushed with anger. "You hired someone to spy on me?" she hissed. "That's sick. Do you have any idea how invasive that is?" Malik met her gaze steadily. "You invaded my life pretending to be someone you are not." She tried to recover the narrative quickly. Tears pooled in her eyes. "I was scared," Ariana said, voice trembling. "I thought if I told you the truth, you would judge me. Yes, I've had help. Yes, I've dated men with money. But I fell for you. It became real. That is why I wanted us to plan a future. I did not know how to bridge who I was with who you are." Her words were crafted to tug at his empathy, to remind him of a compassionate man who always offered people second chances. Malik felt a flicker of old softness, but the weight of the evidence held him steady. "You didn't just hide details," he replied quietly. "You built an entire fake person, a fake struggle, a fake dream, a fake mission. You studied what mattered to me and turned it into a script. You saw my generosity as a resource to mine, not a gift to cherish. Ariana's expression hardened. The tears vanished as quickly as they appeared. So what now? She asked flatly. You gonna dump me and send that little report to everyone? Ruin my life? I am not interested in ruining your life, Malik said. I just want you out of mine. He slid a document across the table. This is a legal agreement drafted by my lawyer. It states that you acknowledge receiving financial support from me as personal gifts with no promises of future support, and that you will not claim any form of partnership, investment, or engagement. It also states you will not contact my family, my business associates, or use my name for personal gain. Sign it, and we both walk away. Ariana stared at the papers, stunned. You think you can control me with some papers? She sneered. I could go online right now and tell everyone you emotionally abused me, that you promised to marry me, then drop me. Do you know how fast people turn on rich men? I could cry on camera and be believed. Malik's jaw tightened, but he had anticipated this. He quietly pulled out his phone, opened a folder, and turned the screen toward her. Recordings of her own voice bragging in private chats, screenshots of her mocking him, messages about milking him dry before moving on. Ariana's bravado shattered. She looked at the screen, then at him, realizing he had protected himself carefully. You saved everything, she whispered. Malik nodded. I am not proud of any of this, he said, but I refuse to let you rewrite our story as your next performance. I will not expose you if you sign and move on. I just want peace. Her shoulders slumped. The fight left her eyes, replaced by a tight, bitter resignation. Finally, with a shaking hand, she signed the documents. The pen stroke felt like a quiet severing of illusion. Malik drove her home in silence. Ariana stared out the window, arms crossed, no longer performing softness or vulnerability. When they reached her building, she opened the door without looking at him. You think you're better than everyone, she muttered. Always so righteous. One day, you'll realize people like me are created by people like you. Malik exhaled slowly. Maybe, he replied. But people like you still choose who they become. Ariana stepped out, slammed the car door, and walked away without turning back. Malik watched until she disappeared, then finally allowed himself to breathe. The weeks afterward were heavier than Malik expected. Freedom did not feel triumphant. It felt like grieving someone who never actually existed. He threw himself into work, into the gym, into quiet nights at home. Denise came over with homemade stew, silently placing a hand on his shoulder as he recounted everything in ragged detail. You did the right thing, she said softly. You protected your heart and your life. That girl wanted your money, not your soul. But your soul is the rare part. Malik let the words sink in, feeling both wounded and oddly strengthened. Over time, Malik's guard softened, but his wisdom sharpened. He no longer confused grand performances for genuine love. He paid attention to how people behaved when the credit card stayed in his wallet, when the nights were simple and unglamorous. He learned to ask harder questions, to listen when something felt off. Eventually, he would meet someone whose warmth did not depend on what he could provide. But even before that, Malik found solace in knowing he had ended the entanglement on his own terms. He did not let darkness turn him bitter, only more discerning and more free. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.